Part of the series now, we're talking about sources of funding for a corporation. And a common source of funding for a corporation is bonds. And bonds now, you should know, is really a debt. Just like you and I, when a company wants to borrow money, the first place they would go would be to a bank. And they would get all their money from the bank if they could. Reality is, though, that major corporations, banks won't loan them all the money they want because they'd be the only customer of the bank. Now, to get beyond that, just like you and I, if we couldn't get money from the bank, we go borrow money from people, our relatives or brothers or sisters or whoever. A corporation goes out and borrows money from the investing public, people like you and me. The instrument they use to borrow money from the investing public now, that's called a bond. And a bond is indeed debt. That's what you have when a corporation issues bonds. The corporation's taking on debt. And bonds will be listed under the long-term debt of a corporation's balance sheet. A bond, though, is also a contract. And you're going to find out here as we go through these series of videos on bonds here, that indeed there's a contract between a company and the investor. And in that contract now, it dictates and tells us what the cash flows are, when the investor will get money, what rights the company has, what rights the investor has. But a bond is a contract, it's a contractual obligation. Now, just in the kind of big scheme of things here, there are two kinds of corporate bonds. There are what are called registered bonds and what are known as coupon bonds. Now, long ago when I first started taking investments classes, my professor told me that a registered bond was characterized by the cash flows, that being, if the company owes you money, they're going to put it in the mail to you. They'll mail you the money. In today's world, they don't usually mail checks and stuff. It's electronic. But again, a registered bond, they're going to send you money that they owe you. Technically, it's not the company that sends you the money, but the trustee of the bond, and we'll talk about it a little later. But that's a registered bond. And in the bigger picture now with a registered bond, indeed, your ownership is registered. So if if somebody steals your bond, or the dog eats it, or the kids put it in the shredder, or what have you, you can contact the trustee of the bond. They'll verify who you are. They'll cancel the old registration number, and they'll issue a new bond with a new registration number. You can get the bond replaced. Your ownership is registered with the trustee of the bond, and that's called a registered bond. The other type of bond now is called a coupon bond. And coupon bonds, if you would imagine that this is the kind of the body of the bond, attached to it now are coupons. And on each coupon now there will be a date and a dollar amount. And on that date you literally get your scissors out, you cut the coupon, you bring it to the bank, and the bank cashes the coupon like it was a check written on the company's checking account. Those are coupon bonds. Now there are two kinds of coupon bonds that we deal with. One is a registered coupon bond. That is, your ownership is registered, just like these other types. And if you lose the coupon bond, the company, the trustee, will replace the bond. You don't lose everything. There is also another type of coupon bond, though, known as a bearer bond. Now, with a bearer bond, whoever has physical possession of the bond gets all the cash flows, gets all the coupons. They own it. Literally, if you have a coupon bond that's a bearer bond, and you want to sell it to your neighbor on Sunday after barbecue or something, agree to a price, they give you the money, you hand them the bond, they then clip the coupons and bring them to the bank. A bearer bond, there's no registration. No one's name is registered with the bond. Those are bearer bonds. So if you lose a bearer bond, if your dog eats it, or the kids put it in the shredder, or anything else now, you just lose all the cash flow associated with the bond. Those are called bearer bonds. Now, as an individual who would loan money to a corporation, I would want to have something in writing. I'd want to see the contract. I'd want to know who it was. I'd want to know all the details of the contract. A bond indenture is what we're talking about here. A bond indenture now is the legal agreement between the company that issues the bond and the investor who purchases the bond. What I have in my hand here, this is indeed a bond indenture. You can see they're very long, they're very detailed. They go into lots of things about the financial wherewithal of the company, who runs the company, what they're doing with the monies that the bond provides, all those sorts of things. Now, we're not going to talk about every different thing there is in a bond indenture, but I want you to see what one really looks like now. This is a bond indenture, and this is the kind of thing you would get if you purchased a bond. You'd want to know what the bond indenture was. And again, the bond indenture now, this is the legal agreement between the company that issues the bond and the investor who purchases the bond. Now, in the next video now, we're going to talk about some of the elements in bond indentures, basically the things that define for us the cash flows of the bond, the risk of the bond, things like that. We're not going to cover everything that's in a bond indenture. A good investments class will go into a lot of detail on bond indentures, but that's not what we're doing in here. So in the next video now, we're going to talk about how you value a bond.